right, we got to empty our tank. We're nowhere near. All right, we 10 minutes to go and we're nowhere near.
I mean, that echoes what you were saying. Nobody counts out the #1 scoring team in the country, even when it's this much of a deficit and only 1 quarter to go.
Staying disciplined in what you're trying to get, working the clock and getting the best shot offensively. Well, they brought in a lot of new pieces, but those are veteran pieces. Those are players who have had multiple years at their previous schools.
Marshall's been a spark of offense for them.
You see how quickly the closeout came? Abby Marshall thought she was going to have a sliver of daylight, and she didn't. Abby Myers got there on the closeout.
Feels like, again, we mentioned this a moment ago, every time you think, well, maybe that's the crack, the little opening in the door for them to find a comeback. Maryland finds a way to close that door immediately, like right there with Masonis, the second opportunity. Marshall with the air ball 3, put back by a falter.
We saw that urgency today in shoot-around.
Yep.
I mean, everybody locked in, everybody here early, staying after.
They stayed very late after.
So this is a Maryland team that is playing their best basketball right now at this point in the season, and that's exactly what you want.
Peaking at the perfect time. Warnock had such a tough night shooting today. Another closeout by Sellers. Stay here. And down 26 with less than 7 minutes to go makes it hard to feel that's going to happen. Which means the Hoosiers would be the Big Ten champions outright. Warnock with 3 on the shot clock, loses it. Miller all alone.
Like Cheyenne Sellers said to us after shoot-around today, we got embarrassed when we played at Iowa. We're going to come out, we've got to stay locked in, we've got to do what we do best, and they've been able to do that.
You know, that first game we talked about between these two is just so drastically different. Iowa scored 96 points. That's the most Maryland's given up all season.
And Mike, you're used to seeing Caitlin Clark all over the floor, right? With the ball, without the ball. I mean, like great scorers do, logging a lot of miles.
Diamond Miller was barely a part of this team offensively in the first half, and they didn't really need her. But now she's up to 14 points as the lead for Maryland grows. Sellers with the basket. She'll head to the line. This is full-on celebration in College Park.
Well, bad shots are just as bad as turnovers in transition, and Sellers able to get the bucket and the opportunity for the N1. Lack of player movement, not running the offense. They have been completely taken out of anything that they want to do on the offensive end of the floor.
Defense for Maryland has grown so much over the season. They're better at not turning the ball over. They're better at forcing turnovers. She knows we're not the tallest team. We don't have the biggest bigs, so we have to create turnovers. And man, are they great at it. Averaging 19 a game. They surpassed that a while ago here. Myers.
When you think about what this win means for Maryland, not just the opportunity to play for a #2 seed, the continual effort by this team to be peaking at the right time, continuing to come together, and seeding in the postseason in the NCAA tournament. So much of being positioned to make a run, a deep run in the NCAA tournament, is about your seeding. It's about your matchups.
Well, and think of this. Autumn Johnson does the projection. She has both of these teams tonight as 2 seeds. This win is right now. As Rick mentioned, he and Megan will talk about everything about this massive game and everything to think about in this final week of the regular season. That's an offensive foul on the Terps.
I mean, this is a team, and again, you think about all of the new faces, one returning starter, multiple new faces. You have to blend this team together.
Yep.
They found the right rotations.
And the depth they've brought in, we mentioned the transfers, Myers, Alexander, Briggs. You pointed out they were all experienced players at various different programs. They had it in Lavender Briggs scoring. The depth that provides, this Maryland team makes them so scary entering the month of March. Clark hits the three, but far too little and way too late for Iowa. Want to hear a couple crazy stats?
I do.
This will be the 91st ranked win in Brenda Frese's career. 6 Elite Eights, 10 Sweet 16s. Won that 06 national championship, of course. Winning as coach in this great program's great history.
Well, the 2006 national champions, and you mentioned the multiple Final Fours. A number of terrific players who have been through this program. And the one consistency, Brenda Frese on the sidelines challenging her teams.
You want a crazier stat?
I do.
Since Maryland joined the Big Ten in 2014, they've won 87% of their Big Ten games. When Brenda Frese and the Terps joined this conference, is that when things started to change?
Well, I think the change when Maryland joined the Big Ten was in how the game was played, right? The Big Ten was traditionally a slower-paced power type of offense. Maryland at that point had come from the ACC, which was a very fast-paced, league that got up and down the floor, that was very versatile. And in order to keep up with Maryland at the time, the Big Ten coaches had to change and had to pivot. And I give these coaches a lot of credit. The different types of players, not a lot of big teams in the Final Four, so you change your scheduling. Who are you playing in the non-conference? How are you challenging yourself? They pivoted, they challenged themselves, they changed the way that they approached scheduling, offense, defense, and now the league is the toughest, deepest league in the country.
Pretty incredible. And you think of programs that had long stretches of struggling, like Indiana, like Illinois, that are now looking like really good teams. Look at that move. So sweet by Miller. She's up to 16. And there's a turnover. You saw Cheyenne Sellers take a break, by the way. How's this for a stat line for her? 17 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists.
I mean, Cheyenne Sellers is the Energizer Bunny, and I love that she gets excited about defensive challenges. She always wants to guard the opponent's best player. She's taken her offensive game to another level this season. I mean, she's playing a point guard position, facilitating. She really is the ultimate utility player.
Caitlin Clark is out of the game. Monica Sonano is out of the game. Clark had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Sonano, 4 points, 9 rebounds.
You got to get ready to go home and to play Indiana at home, and you got to get ready for the postseason. So, sometimes you have these days. Give Maryland all the credit in the world for coming out and setting the tone from the opening tip. And if you're the Hawkeyes, you just got to move on.
Yep.
You got to turn the page quickly.
Think of it this way, how different these two meetings were between these squads. 3 weeks ago when they met, Iowa scored 96 points, which was the most Maryland had given up all year.
They were ready for this challenge. They came out and they executed at a high level.
And I think our friends in the studio were right. It's hard to not be more impressed with their defense than anything else. And of course, the other major storyline is the three-pointers. Maryland's got 14 of them. That's a season high. That was such a dagger as they dominated. So Maryland will even up the series with the Iowa Hawkeyes here. Iowa still will be looking to win at Maryland. They've only won one time on the road in College Park. That was back in '92 when it was the Cole Fieldhouse where they were playing. What a difference a few weeks makes. The Maryland Terrapins dominate Iowa. They win their 4th top 10 game this season. That's the first time since the 1970s. The Terps and the Hoosiers are the only squads in the country with 4 wins over top 10 ranked opponents. And congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers, who now officially clinch outright the Big Ten championship in 2023.
Well, terrific effort all around by the Terps. Offensively, defensively, starters, bench production. It was an incredible team effort.
Renee Alexander leads the way with 24 points. Cheyenne Sellers close to a triple-double. Lavender Briggs throwing in 19. Brenda Fries picks up her 29th win over a top 10 ranked team while at Maryland. And the Terps improved to 35-1 at home in February the last 10 years. That does it from the Xfinity Center. 96-68, Maryland gets a top 10 win over Iowa. For Stephanie White and our entire broadcast crew, I'm Mike Call. We're going to take you to Chicago. Our post-game show starts in moments. That'll do it. Congrats to the Terps.